Hello, my creative friends. This is Dr. Minette Riordan from Mindful Patterns. And today I'm doing a video blog about the ABCs of art journaling. And I'm on the letter M, and M is all about making marks, making your mark, putting your original stamp on your artwork. So I thought I would just record a little tour of some of my journals and the fun that I have with different kinds of mark making. And I thought that would be a little more playful than simply talking about different kinds of marks. So I love playing with mark making a lot in my art. And I have dedicated pages in my journals to doing that. I'll also show some layered pieces where I've done that in different art journal pieces. But for me, the practicing with the pens, the fluidity of the motions, creating compositions that are pleasing, there's something about mark making that brings me just a lot of deep joy. It probably started with my love of Zentangle over 10 years ago and has morphed into my love of different botanicals and drawing styles. And so you can see where I've played with different shapes and marks with my soul scribbles and filling those with different marks as well. I think I shared a picture of my owl before. I do a lot of drawing practice too, but there's something about mark making that I find super inspiring and playful. And then that ends up getting layered into some of my art journaling work. So I love animals and animal symbolism. This was a collage piece I did, but there's hand-drawn elements throughout this piece as well. Same here with my funny little collage mouse where I've gone back in and drawn different elements in black and white over the tops of things. I love pieces of art journaling like this, where this was from a class I taught called Into the Garden. I love birds. And I love creating abstract mixed media pieces and going in and finishing those off with little dots and lines and circles on circles. Again, they just tend to make things a little bit more my own. And here's some other ones where I love this kind of folk art style, which is layers of acrylic paint with different patterns and marks laid on the top of them. These were also examples from my Into the Garden class I taught, where I shared just different kind of marks and patterns that I love and that I draw over and over again. Here I played with layering my favorite Posca markers on top of different colors of acrylic paint to see, and also some gel pens to see what would show and stand out. Here's some other examples of art journal pages that I created using collage and then going back in with botanical line drawings and marks and shapes all over them. So I think the thing that I want to share about mark making is to practice and play, to find what movements and marks your hands like to make. Here's one that went a little crazy with the mark making and got a little bit busy, but I can sit here for hours and add the different lines and marks and patterns and shapes to a page in a lot of fun ways. And then sometimes they're stark and simple with just a spot of color. I love learning how to draw different elements that then can get mixed into images or other works of art, because I think those layers are what make things super original and unique when we start to come in and add the detail to the ends of our pieces. So, you know, here's one that had a lot of color in the background, and I still went in at the end and just added some details over the top of. So making your marks can be really fun and simple. I love playing with oil pastels as well as all different types of black pens. Here's one that I've started that doesn't quite feel finished, but I've added, you know, some white dots and a few lines and layers. but I will often sit with a page like this one. This is a handmade junk journal I created with a lot of different papers. This is just a plain manila folder. And I can just sit and play with the shapes that I find my hand is drawn to. Like I find squares not as satisfying, but I can draw circles or make dots all day long. And oil pastels are actually really fun to create layers with because you can paint over them and they kind of form a resist and you can still see them poking through the later layers of paint. So it's amazing what you can do in terms of making your mark and making it unique and original with just some really simple lines and shapes. So I encourage you to grab something that you love to draw or make marks with and to play with all of your different paintbrushes. Paintbrushes are great because you get them in different sizes and tips. I have black pens in a million different sizes. I think this is a Tombow mono twin that has a fat end and a thin end. And again, this is a permanent black. So when I paint over it, some of this is going to show through. But I love adding marks, and even our own words can be marks under the page, like we've talked about in some of the other blog posts, that I can bury some of the writing underneath some of my other artwork. And I still get those. And there's also something I didn't even know it had a name called asemic writing, which is kind of fake writing, where you can kind of make it look like writing on the page and you can get some of those marks down and it looks like there's some secret hidden messages in there. But there's something really satisfying, playful, and creative and really unique that will help you make your art journal pages 100% your own by just adding different marks and pattern. So oil pastels, variety of black pens, gel pens, Posca paint markers are my absolute favorite for drawing over collage with. And here's one where these marks and patterns were added with different sizes of paintbrushes where I was playing. This is a beautiful lesson in a color study with Tamara Laporte. It's still waiting for a quote that I haven't quite found yet to go up here in the page, but I loved going in, repeating some of the colors of the paint, but using different sizes and shapes of paintbrushes to make my mark. So I can't wait to see what you create, but mark making is definitely one of my personal favorite aspects of art journaling, and I love playing. Here's one I did with watercolor and a small paintbrush, right? So I think the prompt for this was dainty. So I had lighter colors, watercolor, and a light brush, and I just played with different marks and shapes. So I encourage you to have some fun with your own mark making and see what you can create in your own art journal. So again, I'm Dr. Minette Riordan. This is the ABCs of art journaling, the letter M, which is all about making your mark. I hope you enjoyed it and I will see you again soon. Bye, my friends.